I want to start with a number. It's not a motivational statistic, it's a commercial one. Perceptics research puts the cost of poor people management in the United States economy alone at $500 billion annually. And Zenga Folkman found that a single underperforming leader costs an organization approximately $1 million a year in untapped potential. And the University of South Florida's executive leadership research found that a single mid-level leader carrying derailing behavioral patterns can cost an organization 8.7 times their annual compensation once you factor in turnover, absenteeism, legal exposure, and the quiet disengagement of everyone operating in their orbit. 8.7 times their annual compensation. Think about that for a moment. Now we're talking about one person, middle level. Now here's a question nobody in probably your finance team is asking. Where does the cost sit in your account? Doesn't sit anywhere. It is distributed invisibly across a dozen different budget lines: recruitment, rework, stalled projects, consultant fees, low productivity, and the turnover of people who were never formally recorded as having left because of their manager, but they did. Well, that depends on the organization. Well, the friction tax has no line item. That's what we call it, the friction tax, which is precisely why it keeps compounding unaddressed quarter after quarter in organizations that would never tolerate the equivalent loss in any other area of the business. Now, let me make this a little more concrete. A mid-sized professional services organization, 40 leaders across 3 service lines. The CEO commissions an external review after 2 consecutive quarters of missed targets. The review team spends 6 weeks examining the strategy, the market positioning, the pricing model, and the client pipeline. Then they produce a thorough report. It recommends a sharper go-to-the-market focus, better CRM discipline, and a revised pricing structure. The recommendations, as usual, are implemented. The third quarter is also missed. Now, what the review never examined in this case was the behavioral profile of the leadership layer that's driving the execution. Specifically, 3 of the 40 leaders were generating disproportionate friction across the organization, not through incompetence, through deeply conditioned behavioral patterns that were creating misalignment in every team they touched, stalling decisions that should have been straightforward, and quietly suppressing the kind of direct communication that would have cut the commercial problems 6 months earlier. Are you seeing the problem from the picture I'm painting? You see, the strategy was not the problem. The strategy was fine. The wiring beneath the strategy was where the loss was being manufactured. Now, I want to bring in a dimension that is becoming impossible to ignore for any organization that's investing in AI capabilities right now. You see, the organizations spending heavily on AI tools and enterprise technology are carrying the same risk, whether you like it or not. But when the behavioral profile of the leadership team driving adoption is misaligned, when the people that are responsible for embedding the new ways of working are themselves generating friction along the line through the unaddressed wiring gaps, the technology investments then compounds a problem rather than solving it. You see, you're now paying for the friction twice. Once you are paying in the license fees and then implementation cost, and again in the organizational drag that prevents investment from returning what it actually should. I love what Jack Welch said when he said something that cuts to the heart of this. He said, before you are a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you then become a leader, success is all about growing others. The return on investment of leadership behavior is not a soft metric, and some make that mistake. It is a commercial reality, and measuring it begins with a simple discipline that almost no organization applies systematically. The 3 things that you can apply this week. First, build a friction cost estimate for your organization. You need to take your top 10 leaders for each one Estimate conservatively the annual value of the decisions they are either accelerating or delaying through their behavioral impact on the people around them. You do not need precision. No, you just need a ballpark feedback that's honest enough to make the number real. In most organizations, that exercise produces a number large enough to reframe the entire conversation about leadership development investments. Second, identify your highest cost behavioral patterns, not your lowest performance, your highest cost patterns. These are almost always in your mid to senior layer, the leaders who are technically good enough to stay, but whose conditioned communication patterns are creating drag across everyone who works with them. And this is affecting people negatively. One leader who consistently avoids difficult conversations costs you in delayed decisions, unresolved conflicts, and the accumulated energy tax on every team meeting that they chair. And number three, apply a behavioral lens to your technology return on investment assessments. If you are currently evaluating or implementing AI tools, automation platforms, or any significant operational change, add one question to your business case. And the question is this: what is the behavioral readiness of the leadership team responsible for driving adoption? If the answer is unknown, that is your highest risk variable. Address it before you complete the implementation, not after you have missed the projected returns, because technology compounds whatever it's on ground already. You see, the friction tax is not a people's problem. It is a commercial problem with a people cause. And the organizations that start measuring it honestly and systematically without the usual euphemisms are the ones that stop paying for it or stop paying it. What would your number be? If you run that estimate honestly this week, what would the friction in your leadership layer be costing you per quarter? Drop it in the comment. I'd like to read it. And not the exact number if you would rather not share it, that's okay. But the order of magnitude, because I think most leaders who do this exercise find out that there's so much that they've been ignoring, and sometimes they are genuinely surprised by what they find. And the next conversation you get as a result of this might just change the way you lead your organization and take it to the next level. My name is Stallone-Obaraemi, Samuel. I hope this has fired you up to look at the behavioral pattern of your leadership in your organization. It's not a flaw, it's just the way people think, and it affects your organization without you necessarily knowing it. My sincere desire for you, my friend, my leader, in any organization you find yourself, is that you go on succeeding by becoming a better version of yourself.